Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here. Today on the 4-game NBA playoff slate on Monday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the player breakdown, I just want to say again, thank you guys for all the support so far. Currently, right now at 4.17 thousand subscribers on YouTube. If you guys enjoy all the content, it's all free right now. The easiest way to support me, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, hit that notification bell. My goal is to hit 5K subs by the end of the month. Also, if you guys cannot listen, or cannot watch, I should say, the YouTube videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. It's the DK DFS show. The link is in the description below. All right, with that out of the way, though, let's jump into it. So, before we get into players and their prices for the playoff slate, what we can do quickly, let's look back at my showdown lineup here for Saturday. Really good game there with the Blazers and the Grizzlies. So, I talked about a couple strategies in my showdown breakdown. I took a risk going with Gorgie Jang in the captain spot, and hear me out. My thought process was, JV and Nurkic, they go at it a lot. Like, those are two guys that have been in foul trouble a lot since coming back to the bubble. So I took a shot in Jang, really hoping that JV would get in foul trouble. Now, it didn't happen, but if JV would have gotten in foul trouble, Gorgie Jang's coming in, right? Because Portland runs huge, so if he got in foul trouble, it could have pushed for 20-plus minutes, obviously, out of Jang. So I got super contrarian here. I only entered one lineup in the big $20 tournament. I actually lost money at the end from that Jonas Valanciunas rebound. The cash here was 250.12. I was at 249.75. So that was a little bit tilting. But again, I didn't have like any money on it, so it didn't really bother me too much. I went Lillard and Nurkic. Again, I remember Nurkic was this guy I figured would go low on because he's in between Lillard and Ja. And he had a smash game, the 2020. He went absolutely off. I'm a huge Yusuf Nurkic guy. I mean, you guys know I love playing this guy. So he came through in a big way. Again, I paired him with Lillard and Ja. Lillard actually didn't have the best game for his price, right? The winning lineup actually did not have Damian Lillard. So you could have for sure faded Lillard on the slate. And then I went with Brooks, like of him, Trent Jr., and Carmelo. He's my favorite of the three. And then Brandon Clark, I mentioned him for value as well. So that's the look back there. What we can do now is let's take a look at the Vegas odds here for this 4-game slate. So we have basketball all day, which is really, really nice. Excited for that. So yeah, Jazz Nuggets, a 218 over-under. Denver 3-point favorites. We have the Nets and the Raptors, a 222 over-under. The Raptors are 9.5-point favorites. 76ers Celtics is a 219 over-under. Boston are 5.5-point favorites. And the Mavs Clippers, late night hammer here, are 230 over-under. Clippers are 6-point favorites. So let's get into the breakdown here. We'll start with center and Joel Embiid at 10-2. I think this is where I'm buying into Embiid. No Ben Simmons, it's the playoffs. And in the playoffs, the starters are getting extended a bit. Some guys more than the others, but Joel Embiid's going to push for 40 minutes in this one if the game stays close and no foul trouble. So, and no Ben Simmons, like I said, he has enormous upside. Sure, the team matchup, not necessarily the best. I'm not super scared of Tice defensively or to try to throw Cantor or Robert Williams on Embiid. I just think this is a game where Embiid could go for 70-plus fantasy points. So right now, he is the stud I'm looking to. I really like Joel Embiid as a spend up. I just think his upside is enormous right now. Sure, he's been battling through some injuries. I'm not super worried about it. This is a shot, again, I'm willing to take on Embiid at 10-2 without Ben Simmons. So really like Embiid as a spend up. Jokic is at 8-7. So this is an interesting spot here. Again, starters are getting extended in the playoffs. So a close game, I assume we're going to get close to probably 38-ish minutes from Jokic would be my best guess. The matchup is not really great against Rudy Gobert, who is a solid defender. But, the price came down to Jokic, 8.7K. We do have Jamal Murray back. We don't know about Barton and Gary Harris. I assume they're probably still going to be out since they missed the whole regular season since the return to the bubble. So if that's the case, Jokic is, again, I think he's going to fly under the radar. because of the matchup, but he is a guy, again, I always say this with Nikola Jokic, he's a very frustrating roster for DFS. But there's games where he will just take over, and there's games where he'll just do nothing offensively. So, which Jokic are you going to get? The upside is enormous. When Jokic is playing well and he's being aggressive offensively, I would not be surprised if he goes for 60 plus in this one, even in a bad spot. So, I think he's in play. More of a contrarian play, though, for me right now. Porzingis is at 8-3. I think that looks really good. Again, the team matchup, not necessarily the best against the Clippers, but the individual matchup, I am not scared of Zubac defense. I am not scared of Montrezl Harrell defense. We're going to get close to 40 minutes from Porzingis in this one as long as he stays out of foul trouble. Now, he has fouled out in 3 of the last 4 games, so that is definitely a risk with him. But I think the upside is really high in Porzingis at 8-3. So, and this game is the highest over-under of the day. It's going to be played at a very fast pace. So, yes, I do like Kristaps Porzingis quite a bit. I prefer him to Luka Doncic on this slate for his price. Gobert's at 7-7. I just don't think I'm going to do it. I like the upside a little bit more, some of those other centers I mentioned. And Gobert's just not a guy they're going to dump it down to in the post a lot. Again, I just don't know if the upside is huge with Gobert. He has to get you one of those games with 5 blocks and 3 steals or something like that for him to have a really big upside game, in my opinion. So again, I just love the upside in Embiid. I think the upside in Porzingis is really high. I'm not going to get to Gobert. I think there's slight foul trouble concerns going up against Jokic too. So I'm going to stay away there. Horford, revenge spot against Boston at 7-2, no Embiid. Right now I'm really high in Embiid, so I don't want to go crazy at my Philly exposure. Like Tobias Harris, Al Horford, if you get to those guys, I completely get it. But for me, on this slate, again, it's going to be Joel Embiid. Jarrett Allen's at 7K, and man, I wish they were not playing Toronto. This is the worst possible matchup for him. Toronto, really good defensively. Gasol, even at an old age, again, good defensively. I don't know, because you're going to get huge minutes out of Jarrett Allen, and this Brooklyn team is so depleted. It's Allen and LeVert, right? Where the offense is coming from. Jarrett Allen, again, the matchup is not great, kind of like Jokic, but I think the upside is still there for him. But I put him in the territory as Jokic, right? I think he's slightly more contrarian. I think I feel safer about, on this slate, Embiid and Porzingis. But that doesn't mean Jokic and Jarrett Allen are out of play. Even in bad spots, those guys still have upside. Now, Montrezl Harrell going to come back. He's at 5-9. It's going to be a stay away for me right now. I don't know if they're going to limit his minutes since he hasn't played yet. Yeah, and at 6K, the Clippers now they have a lot of depth, right? They have everyone back. So I'll talk about it more in a bit with guys later like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. But their prices are up. And now we have Lou and Montrez back, 2 high usage guys back in the offense. So yeah, now there's a lot of mouths to feed on the Clippers. So we also have Ibaka at 5-4. He has missed, I believe, the last couple games. We'll see. My best guess is he's going to be good to go. The issue with him is basically him and Marc Gasol are just splitting the center minutes, right? They're both getting 24, 25 minutes a game. It's a really good matchup. I think one of them can get you there, but I don't know if they really stand out on a slate like this. And Toronto's a team I'm really high on, so we'll get to some other players in a bit here, but I don't want to go crazy in my Toronto exposure. So yeah, some of the guards look really good, especially Fred VanVleet. Again, I'll get to that in a bit. Daniel Tice is at 5-2. I just don't like targeting centers against Joel Embiid. I'm just too worried about the foul trouble risk. There's no reason. 5-2, that's too pricey for him. So complete stay away, easy fade in my opinion. Marc Gasol's at 4-3. If Ibaka's out, you could see maybe close to 30 minutes out of him in a good spot. He would be in consideration for me as a value center, for sure. Now, we haven't really seen huge upside from Gasol, but this is a type of matchup. Brooklyn plays no defense. So I could see a decent game from Gasol if Ibaka does end up, if he's not able to play. Zubac, this is also a tricky one because the price came way down. He's been a really good point per minute guy, but again, we have Montrezl Harrell back in the offense. So we probably only get 15 minutes out of each Zubac, right? I put him right in that territory as like a JaVale McGee. Going to start and play about 15 minutes. Now, he's a better offensive player than JaVale McGee. I think he can still get you 20 fantasy points in 15 minutes. It's just we're not going to get 25 minutes out of each Zubac anymore. So, tricky one. Obviously, the price came down, but the minutes are going to come down as well. Maxi Kleber's at 4-1. I don't know if I'm going to get to the secondary pieces in Dallas in this slate. Like, sure, I mean, he probably gets 25-ish minutes. He's 4-1. I think he's okay, but not my favorite. Not my favorite value play. Karuk's at 3.8. And we would probably get somewhere between 25 to 30 minutes out of him. Viable punt option. There are some cheap plays I think are in play for Brooklyn, like Karuk's, TLC, Garrett Temple. So again, not my favorite play, but I get it if you land on him. Now, Chris Boucher, this is strictly dependent on Serge Ibaka. If Serge Ibaka is out, I think we get at least 15 minutes from Boucher. Serge Ibaka's in, I don't think Chris Boucher plays. So this play, again, strictly dependent on whether or not Serge Ibaka can go or not. If Ibaka can't, I think we probably get at least 15 minutes out of Boucher, and you guys know he is an amazing point per minute guy. So I would like Boucher quite a bit if there's no Serge Ibaka as a value option. Boban at 3.4, I just don't think he gets enough run. Like, he'll probably maybe get 5 or so minutes, maybe a little bit more, but not for me. Let's see. Who else do I want to talk about? Tony Bradley, I mean, this is just really a low-owned contrarian play here because, again, the matchup against Jokic, there is a chance Gobert can get some foul trouble. If he does, Tony Bradley's coming in. And Tony Bradley's a really good point per minute guy. Like, on the regular season, he's averaging about 15 minutes. If Gobert gets in foul trouble, who knows how many minutes he can play, right? Maybe 20, maybe 25. If that's the case, if we get like 20-plus minutes out of Tony Bradley, he could absolutely crush. Well, sure. Yeah, this is not a cash game play, but maybe if you're making like 10 lineups, maybe you throw him in one. Again, what you're hoping for here is Gobert foul trouble. And then finally, Cantor. So I wanted to bring this up. Don't know if he's going to be the backup center or Robert Williams, but I want to go over some of the games from the 76ers and Celtics this year. So the first game of the season, they actually started Cantor at center. He played 25 minutes, went for 12, 6, and 2 against Embiid. The next game, he came off the bench, right? They started as Tice, like they have been now. Tice played 24 minutes. Cantor came off the bench, played 24 minutes. Cantor went for 20 and 9 against Joel Embiid. And then finally, in January, again, Cantor came off the bench, played 17 minutes, went for 11, 2, and 8. So he's had some success here against Joel Embiid. And there's a pretty good chance, again, Daniel Tice gets some foul trouble. Either way, I don't think Tice is going to play huge minutes. The question is, does he go to Cantor or does he go to Robert Williams? I mean, I would guess Cantor, but it's tricky. Brad Stevens does not like playing Enes Kanter. But again, in the games so far in the regular season, Cantor has got extended, and like, if we get 15 minutes to 20 minutes on Enes Kanter at basically min price, he could absolutely crush his salary. So this is a GPP play I do like. But again, the risk is, I think there's still an outside chance he might not even play, right? Is it Robert Williams is going to be the backup center, or is it going to be Cantor? They could run a gross three-headed monster, and then that would hurt everyone's fantasy value, right, if they want Tice starting and then use Cantor and Robert Williams. So the risk is obviously there. But I think the upside, if everything goes right and we get 20 minutes at Enes Kanter at 3-1, he could go for 30-plus fantasy points. So the upside is there for him for sure. Definitely not a cash game play, but I do like his upside for GPP. So let's move on to power forward. So Boston. Tricky team. Boston's just a team that they're very, very balanced. They have Tatum, they have Hayward, they have Jaylen Brown, and now we're going to get good minutes out of Kemba Walker too. They also have Marcus Smart off the bench. So they're like a really balanced team. 8-5 for Tatum. You can definitely still have an upside game, but I don't know if I'm going to prioritize him in this spot, just because it's tricky to kind of get down which one of those wings is going to have a good game. They kind of like take turns. Tatum, Brown, Hayward. I don't know if I want to try to figure it out on a slate like this. I definitely think one of those guys will have a good game. If you want to take a shot in one of the wings, that's fine. Obviously, Tatum's the guy that has the most upside. You're going to have to pay a premium for him. It's just, on a slate like this, I don't know if I'm going to prioritize him. Now, Tobias Harris, I obviously prefer him to Al Horford, but still, I don't want to go crazy in my 76ers exposure unless you want to just go full game stack and hope this game goes to OT. Again, I'm really high on Joel Embiid, so that's probably where I'm going to go. If you want to go to Tobias Harris, that is completely fine. He's going to have to do a lot more with no Ben Simmons. The scoring upside is there for him for sure. Like, you could definitely get 50 points out of fantasy points out of Tobias Harris here. So Not saying he's a bad play. Again, I just don't want to go crazy with my Philly exposure. Now, Pascal Siakam's at 7.5. In a matchup against Brooklyn, man, this looks pretty good. We're going to get close to 40 minutes of these starters for Toronto. Toronto, what we know, they run a very tight rotation. Like, they're going to run an 8-man rotation here. And the starters get huge run. Siakam, Lowry, Fred VanVleet are all going to push for 40 minutes as long as this game stays close. And this is like the best possible spot here against Brooklyn. So it's a 222 over-under. The concern is, does this game blow out, right? It's a 9.5-point spread. So there is some blowout risk. It's a shot I'm willing to take, though. Because, again, I just love the upside in these Toronto guys. I think Siakam looks really good at 7.5. I probably prefer Fred VanVleet for his price. Maybe Lowry, too. But, again, the starters for Toronto, the main guys, the main three that are going to get a huge run, I think look really, really good on this slate. Let's see. Hayward, again, it's kind of my same analysis with Tatum, with Brown. I think probably at least one of those guys will have a good game, but trying to figure out which one it is, it's a little bit tricky. And again, we're gonna have more minutes from Kemba Walker. He's gonna play probably 35-ish minutes or so, would be my best guess. So I don't know if I'm gonna get to the Wings in Boston. MPJ's at 7-1. This game is just kind of ugly. We do have Jamal Murray back too, so I'm not gonna get to MPJ. Can he still have a good game? Sure, he could. But again, I'm not prioritizing him. I'm also not going to get to Paul Millsap at 5K. They just have Jeremy Grant. They have Denver just, I don't know. I don't know how many minutes we get out of Millsap. Could be 20, could be maybe close to 30, but I'm just not doing it on this one. DFS, again, he's a really good defender. He's going to be out there for his defense. He has had he had 54 fantasy points in the game against Milwaukee. Again, that's more of an outlier. He's done a little bit better scoring the ball, but still, I'm probably not going to go to him either. Grant, again, I'm going to pass. Marcus Morris with Harrell. Lou Williams now healthy. I'm not getting to him. TLC. So he's at 4K. You know, how many minutes we get at TLC? The minutes have been up and down, but someone's got to score the ball besides Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen. Right now, Jarrett Allen's not a guy that's going to shoot the ball a ton, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, productions, a lot of the pick and roll offense, it's Jarrett Allen, it's Karis LeVert. So guys like Garrett Temple, Crooks, TLC, one of these guys have to step up. I'm okay taking a shot on TLC. I don't know if he's my favorite play again, but I get it if you get to him. Kind of my same analysis with Crooks. OG Anunoby's at 3.5. He's also missed the last couple games. This is interesting. If he's available to play in starts, I actually think that looks pretty decent. Now, how many minutes we get out of him is a little bit more up in the air. Do we get like 25? Do we get over 30? But the 3.5 price point and the match against Brooklyn looks really good. Now, if he's out, then you could look to a guy like Norman Powell, I think would be the direct beneficiary. Let's see. Royce O'Neal is at 3.5. This is more of just a price point thing for me. Like, we're going to get, the matchup's not great either, but we're going to get like 30 to 35 minutes out of Royce O'Neal. And he's at a 3.5K price point. So I think he's a pretty safe cash game play, right? Just because we know the Mets are going to be there. The matchup not necessarily great, but it's more of just the price point and the minutes for him, right? These Utah guys are going to get good run. O'Neal, Ingles, Mitchell, Conley, Clarkson will get run off the bench. So I actually think Royce O'Neal looks like a pretty safe cash game option right now at 3.5. JaMychal Green's at 3.1. I mean, even when Montrezl Harrell has played, like, he still can have games where he'll play like 20-plus minutes. I don't know if this is going to be one of those games, though, so he's just a really risky play, in my opinion. And finally, I want to mention Mike Scott. So what is Philly going to do with their starting lineup here against Boston? Because Boston, they have a lot of wings, right? It's Tatum, it's Brown, it's Hayward. I don't know if Philly can really go with that like 2-guard lineup. Maybe they go Mike Scott in the starting lineup. If he picks up a start, I think we get at least 20 minutes from him. If that's the case, he's min-price and would look pretty solid for value. So, yeah, again, kind of dependent on the starting lineup. I think Mike Scott will get some decent run there, and he is min-price. Let's move on to small forwards. Luka's at 11K. Again, I don't know if I'm going to prioritize him. I love playing Luka. It's just, the individual matchup for him is really not good. Against Kawhi Leonard, Paul George defense. Again, I want to play Luka. I do, but I mean, in the game against the Clippers just a few days ago, he went for 35 minutes, 42 fantasy points. More of a floor game for him. So, can you still get an upside game out of Luka at 11K? You definitely can. This game is going to be played at a fast pace. It's the highest over-under of the game or the day. But Like for me, I prefer Porzingis for $3,000 less. Now Kawhi, Paul George, and this is interesting because it's a really good spot for the Clippers. The Clippers and the Raptors are in the best spot, like the matchups in my opinion, on this slate. But again, we have Montrezl now back too. So we have high usage guys back in the offense with Lou Williams, with Montrezl Harrell. There's a lot of mouths to feed. Kawhi's at almost 10K. Now sure, we're going to get big run out of Kawhi Leonard. It's a good matchup. But I don't know, right? I don't know if I'm going to prioritize him either. I think he's definitely viable. But like, I would probably, if you're going to make me pick a wing for the Clippers, like I would rather save $2,000 and go to Paul George. I don't think the upside's as high, but I like the savings. I like the discount there. So I would rather get to Paul George over Kawhi if you're going to make me pick those wings. Let's see. Other options, again, Will Barton, Gary Harris. We don't know their status necessarily. I don't think it's confirmed, but my best guess is they don't play. Even if they do play, like I'm not paying 6-6 for Barton in his first game back. I'm not going to get to THJ either at 5-7. He's got to knock down those threes. Jay Rich, my worry here is they still have a lot of guards. Him, Shake Milton, Burks, like they'll probably Korkmaz might get some run. They'll probably use Thibault maybe a little bit. So besides that game against Portland where he went for 50 fantasy points, we really haven't seen like any big upside games from Jay Rich, and he's been struggling shooting the ball. So probably not going to get to him either. Joe Harris intrigues me at 4-7 because we're going to get 35 minutes out of him, LeVert, and Jared Allen in a close game. My issue is he is scoring dependent, right? He's got to knock down those threes. But if he's shooting the ball well, I mean, you could see 35-plus fantasy points from Joe Harris. So I think he's viable because we know the minutes will be there. Again, Powell, this is kind of dependent on OG Anunoby. If Anunoby's out, I think Powell starts. I think we probably get 30 minutes from him. He's at 4-5 in a really good matchup. I think he would certainly be in play here. Let's see. I'm not going to get to Torrey Craig at 3-5. I think that really wraps it up, though. So let's move on to shooting guard. So we have Donovan Mitchell at 8K. I mean, we're going to get big minutes out of these Utah guards. Again, no Bojan Bogdanovic. Obviously, he's out for the year. So there is, still more usage to go around for these guys. Mitchell, the 8K price point, he's going to go overlooked on the slate. Again, I don't know if I'm going to get to him in my lineup, but he has that type of upside. We saw it actually in Denver, at Denver a couple of games ago, but that went to double overtime. We went for 58 fantasy points. So I think Mitchell's fine. Again, more of a contrarian play for me. Now, LeVert at 7-6. The matchup, not really the best here, but man, I love his upside. I was super high on him that last slate of the year there against Portland because I said, if LeVert gets 35 minutes, he will absolutely crush his salary and no one would play him. And he came in at like 5% ownership and went for 61 fantasy points. I had him in the late slate. He absolutely crushed. Yeah, I mean, I do like LeVert. Again, Brooklyn is so depleted that all the usage is going to come from LeVert. Again, the matchup is not great, but he's 7-6, and he's going to play 35 minutes. So I do like LeVert quite a bit here, even in a tough spot. I just love his upside. Fred VanVleet at 6'8 might be my favorite play of the day. Again, they have some of these guys listed as out just because they're resting. Again, we're going to get about 40 minutes from Fred VanVleet, and the matchup is amazing here against Brooklyn. 6.8K is way too cheap. I love him. Again, I think you can definitely use Fred VanVleet and Caris LeVert in your same lineup if you want to do that. That's something that I'm looking to right now in my initial build. So I love Fred VanVleet. I know the risk, right? Definitely is some blowout risk, but I just think if the game does stay close, this one has enormous upside, especially for a lot of the guys in Toronto, and then on the opposite side, Caris LeVert. Let's see. Other options here. Tyler Johnson, going to come off the bench, will get decent minutes. I put him in the same territory as TLC, Karooks, and Garrett Temple. If you want to take a shot on one, I think one of those guys will have a good game, right? Temple has got the most minutes, 37 and 37 in back-to-back games. Like I said, someone is going to have to score the ball besides Caris LeVert. Temple's at 4-3. You're not going to feel like an amazing playing Garrett Temple, but if we get 35 minutes out of him, I mean, he has been pretty decent offensively. So I have some interest there in Temple as a cheap option. I think right now, of those Brooklyn value guys I mentioned, I think Temple would probably be my favorite, just because I feel the most comfortable with his minutes. Yeah, Gary Harris is 4-3. Him and Barton have been out the whole bubble. we'll see if they're able to go in the postseason. But right now, obviously, it's just going to be a stay away from me, even if they do play. Burks is at 3.9. Again, they have him, they have Jay Rich, they have Shake Milton. Burks is the cheapest of the three. So I think he would probably be, if I was going to target a Philly guard, I think it would be Alec Burks. Like, we are probably going to get 20, 25-ish minutes from him, and he can put the ball in the bucket. He's a good scorer. So I have some interest in him. Again, I think he would probably be my favorite of those Philly guards because he is the cheapest. I'm not going to get to any of the Dallas secondary plays. It's just trying to trust Rick Carlisle, even in the postseason, is just a headache. All right, now let's finish it up with point guard here. I already talked about Luka. Already mentioned Donovan Mitchell again. Kyle Lowry's at 7.9. I really like him. I really like Fred VanVleet. I prefer Fred VanVleet for his price, but I love Lowry too. We're going to get 40 minutes from these guys as long as the game stays close. It's a great matchup. I think you can play both Lowry and Fred VanVleet together if you want to. All in all, again, I'm just really, really high on Toronto on the slate. Kemba Walker's at 6.9. I think he's my favorite play for Boston right now. They've been taking it easy on his minutes, but this is the playoffs. I don't think we're going to get a minutes restriction out of him. Yeah, we'll play in Monday's playoff opener against the 76ers without any minutes restrictions. So we're probably going to get 35 minutes from Kemba Walker, be my best guess. He's priced under 7K. Now, I voiced my concerns, right? Boston is a very balanced team, but if I was going to take a shot on someone in Boston, I think it would be Kemba Walker here. Like, he could go for 40 plus, maybe even 50. So I have some interest there in Kemba. I think the upside is pretty high. I also have interest in Jamal Murray. This, again, the matchup, not really the best. It's a price point thing with him. 6.5K is too cheap. We're going to get 35 minutes out of Jamal Murray in the playoffs, at least. So I like Jamal Murray quite a bit. I think his upside is really high. He's one of my favorite point per dollar plays right now on the slate. I am really, really high on Jamal Murray. Even in an ugly game, I just like that price quite a bit on him. Don't mind Conley on the opposite side at 6.3. Again, Utah is more thin without Bojan. They're going to run a tight rotation. So I'm good with Mike Conley if you want to go there. And the last three games, 38, 42, and 36 fantasy points. And what I like about Conley is he does it all. Scores the ball, a lot of assists, rebounds. So I have interest in Conley too at 6.3. I think him and Jamal Murray might go a little bit under the radar on this slate, but they look pretty good. Now, Lou Williams is at 6K. Again, my concerns with this Clippers team is they have a lot of mouths to feed, but it is a really good matchup. Like, if we get 30 minutes out of Lou Williams, don't be surprised if he goes for 40 plus. If he's shooting the ball well, we know the upside is enormous in a guy like Lou Williams. Again, with Milton, with Richardson, with Burks, I think my preferred play here would be Alec Burks just because he's the cheapest of the three. Reggie Jackson with now Lou back, they have Montrez. There's too many bodies now for the Clippers that I don't think I'm going to get to him. Trey Burke, and it's just too hard for me to trust these Dallas rotations. Trey Burke could definitely get you there, but don't be surprised if he plays 10 minutes. Don't be surprised if he plays 30. You just never know with Carlisle. And that really wraps it up for me. So I'm making this video Saturday night. Again, definitely that some things could change injury-wise, or some guys get ruled out, something like that. But as of right now, my stance is I'm really high on Toronto. I like LeVert on the opposite side, and I really like Joel Embiid. So that's kind of where I'm building my lineups currently. Obviously, things could change. But that's why it's important to follow me on Twitter, guys, as well as check out the live stream. So I'll be live streaming 30 to 45 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel, going over everything. I'll go give you guys a team-by-team breakdown. I'll give you guys cash game plays, GPP plays, give you guys a core, tell you guys where I'm going, and then answer any questions you guys have at the end. Thanks again, guys. I hope you guys all have a good Saturday, the rest of your Saturday night, and I will see you guys all Monday in the live stream.